Hey everyone, it is Dani'i and welcome to this update video. I hope that you guys are having a really great start to the day. And so, of course, I'm going to be taking you through what is happening right now across the North Atlantic, specifically for the Caribbean, where we have lots of rainfall activity taking place that is going to be persistent for some time, as well as that disturbance highlighted for possible development. And so, before I go into details, please do subscribe if you haven't yet done so and tap the notification bell so that you never miss an important update. Alright, and so firstly, we're going to be starting out returning to this satellite imagery here. This is the infrared satellite imagery of the North Atlantic. We can see that there's lots of activity over into parts of the Northern Caribbean, as well as Florida and the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands. We've also got some activity approaching the Lesser Antilles. We'll be talking about that as well. And also going to Africa, we have another tropical wave making its way from the continent. There we see all of that shower and thunderstorm activity off the coast. And so let us go ahead and zoom into some areas. First up, we have northeastern South America, as well as parts of the eastern Caribbean. So as I mentioned, we have this area of convective activity that is making its way to the east. Some of that is already affecting some areas such as Dominica and Martinique, possibly even Barbados with some overcast skies or even some shower activity. But this is likely going to be bringing some increased rainfall to most of the Lesser Antilles. And also where we have the vicinity of Trinidad and Tobago, we see that there is some activity there, a bit in the vicinity of the ABC Islands as well. And of course, we've got that area of lots of showers and thunderstorms over into eastern Venezuela. But looking to Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, we're not seeing where there is a whole lot of activity taking place right now. Looking up into Guadeloupe, going northward to the rest of the Leeward Islands and also the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, there isn't much taking place either at the moment. Now let's go ahead and drift to the western part of the basin. And so here we are definitely seeing lots of activity over in the eastern Pacific. Of course, when we see those shades of very dark red and also those blacks and even that gray shade within them, the heaviest rainfall, the most thunderstorm activity take place within those areas. And we see that some of that is making its way into parts of Central America, parts of El Salvador, going to Honduras, Nicaragua, parts of Costa Rica as well. And so now as we look into the vicinity of the Northern Caribbean, we have lots of convective activity. So we've got some troughs within the region and a lot of moisture and instability. So of course, we've got those warm sea surface temperatures helping to fuel some of that thunderstorm activity as well. So this is going to be persistent for some time, maybe as we're going to be heading into tomorrow and possibly into Friday as well. Now, this is going to be resulting in some flood triggering rainfall. There was some minor flooding across some sections of Jamaica yesterday, and right now for most of these areas the soil is saturated, meaning that it has a lot of water content. And so with continuous heavy rainfall, even some areas that may not usually flood in heavy rains, because that soil is so saturated, that can lead to flooding should more of these heavy rainfall events continue to unleash, which seems possible for some areas. So guys, as you're going to go throughout today, ensure that you have your umbrella and also maybe a jacket, and please do not take any unnecessary risks and take all the necessary precautions. And so guys, now we want to go ahead and take a look at the rainfall total maps, starting out with the euro. So if you're not familiar with this, these different colors here, there we have that key over to the right side of your screen. As we head from those shades of greens to yellows, oranges, reds, that is increasing rainfall expected. And of course, those values you see are in inches. So we're seeing that quite a bit of rainfall is anticipated for the Northern Caribbean. For parts of the Northern Caribbean, we have the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Cuba, the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands, sections of Florida, possibly parts of the eastern Yucatan, and also going down into parts of Central America, especially along the Pacific coast of these different territories. Down in Colombia, we've got a lot of rainfall activity also expected, not seeing too much over in the east, anticipated for parts of Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, and even for the Virgin Islands and most of the Leeward Islands. But for Guadeloupe, going southward all the way down to Grenada and even down into Trinidad and Tobago, we see that there is likely going to be rainfall activity as we progress throughout today, going down into northeastern South America, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, not seeing where too much rainfall is expected today. Going on to the icon is showing something a little bit similar here, but showing some higher rainfall totals expected for some parts of the Lesser Antilles, mostly the Windward Islands, inclusive of Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago, also going down into parts of Venezuela. Definitely showing that increased rainfall for parts of Central America, and also those higher totals in the vicinity of parts of the Northern Caribbean, as well as the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands, and Florida. So we see that these models are in agreement somewhat in terms of what is expected with the rainfall today. And so I implore you to all take the necessary precautions and stay safe. Now let's go ahead and talk about that disturbance. And so as of this morning, 2 a.m. this morning, the system is still designated a 20% chance for possible development here. So the chance isn't very high because conditions are not highly conducive to allow for development. However, as this is going to be making its way to the east, it is likely going to be bringing a rainfall increase to Florida as we progress into the next couple of days, and then eventually that low pressure system is expected to make its way off the southeastern coast of the U.S. And of course, there are some models expecting that we could see some development of this, maybe even a weak storm, but there is still uncertainty down the road because, again, we've got some unfavorable conditions out there, mostly in terms of the wind shear. So that is going to be a major problem for the Western Atlantic this hurricane season. And of course, the hurricane season commences tomorrow, and I'll be talking a lot more about what is going on, the ENSO region, all of that, and reiterating the predictions that have been out for this season. So stay tuned for that update tomorrow. But in terms of the system here, once it is going to be crossing over Florida and making its way into the Atlantic, sea surface temperatures won't be highly favorable, but we've got that Gulf Stream that could aid in maybe a bit of intensification here. So looking at the sea surface temperature map, we see this narrow area of warmth. Now that is the Gulf Stream. It's a current that runs from the Gulf of Mexico, and it carries warm water off the east coast of the U.S. So this can sometimes help these low pressure systems to develop their shower and thunderstorm activity. But of course, we've got that unfavorable wind shear, so that is a huge inhibiting factor, and only time will tell. But regardless, this is likely going to be bringing quite a bit of rainfall to Florida. So if you're there, please take the necessary precautions and stay safe. And so guys, that is pretty much it for this update video. And if there is anything major going on, any major flooding, I will be posting another video, a brief update this afternoon, if the need is there. And so I hope that you found this video to be quite informative, but if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I'll try to respond as best and as soon as I can. And of course, remember to always be weatherwise.